discuss the assignment answers. The first main was fill in the blanks. The first one, wind is moving air. Winds are generated due to uneven heating on the earth. Air moves from a region of higher pressure to a region of lower pressure. Answer the following. Write any two properties of air. Air exerts pressure and air expands on heating. How are land breeze caused? During the night, the cool air from the land moves towards the sea as water cools more slowly than the land. So this is called land breeze. So children, let us begin this session where we are going to study about thunderstorms, cyclones and tornadoes. Now, in the last session, what we did, I have taught you why these wind currents are generated. There are two reasons for which wind currents are generated on the surface of the earth. The first reason is uneven heating between the equator and the poles. And the second reason was uneven heating of land and water, because of which winds are produced. Now, what is a wind? Wind is nothing but it is moving air. Okay. Now, when I tell you the word storm, S-T-O-R-M, what do we mean by the word storm? So, the word storm is, the meaning of this word is, it is a powerful disturbance of the atmosphere. So there is a lot of disturbance in the atmosphere when there is a storm. So thunderstorms, tornadoes, then hurricanes are all different types of storms. And when there is a storm, there is heavy rain and wind due to the presence of the moisture in the air. Now here we are going to talk about what is a thunderstorm. Now these thunderstorms usually develop in very hot and humid tropical areas, that is the regions near the equator. Okay. Now here you know that the heat of the sun is that is this region receives a lot of heat from the sun. So what happens over here? The temperatures are very high usually. So when the temperatures are very high and when there is the sun which gives a lot of heat, what happens? Air starts rising up. Okay, so when air starts rising up, you have these strong upward rising winds. And when these winds are rising up, what do they carry? They carry water droplets upwards and they form clouds and then they freeze and fall down as rain. Now, what happens when there is a thunderstorm? Now, when there is a thunderstorm, there is swift movement of falling water droplets along with the rising wind. So along with this rising air, what happens? There is this water droplets which fall down with a lot of swift movement, and this creates lightning and sound. Have you understood this? Now the next one, if these are the few precautions that you have to take if there is a storm which is accompanied by lightning. So these are the precautions to be taken during a lightning. First thing is when it is raining very heavily and when there is lightning and thunder, the first and most important thing is you should not go out. Right? So you should not take the chance of going out of your house at all. If in case if you're out of the house, then Do not take shelter under an isolated tree, or do not lie on the ground over there, because the lightning can strike the earth surface over there and it could cause damage to you. The next one, do not take shelter under an umbrella with a metallic rod, because all of you know that metals conduct electricity. They are good conductors of electricity. So do not take shelter under an umbrella which has a metallic rod, because if you are holding it and if it is made of metal, then it would be very dangerous. Third point, do not sit near a window. Why you should not sit near a window? Because the lightning can strike the window pane, or it could strike the metal which is there near the window, and that could be dangerous. Again, if you are stuck outside and if you are in water during the time when there is lightning, you have to quickly get out and go inside a building and take shelter. So these are the few precautions that you have to take if you are caught in a thunderstorm and if you're out of the house. And if there is lightning and if there is a thunderstorm, then the best thing that you should do is you should not go out. Now let us talk about cyclones. Now the first thing that I'm going to teach you is the structure of a cyclone. Now how does it look? The center of the cyclone is a very calm area. Can you see over there in the picture? The central portion, that central portion of the cyclone is calm, and that area is called the eye of the storm. Now around that calm area, we have a large cyclone and we have a violently rotating mass of air in the atmosphere. Are you understanding? So this cyclone, when it is actually cyclone, winds are blowing at very high speed, right? So we call it a cyclone. So we have a rotating mass of air over there. So around the calm clear area, there is a region which has high speed winds and thick clouds with heavy rain. Do you understand? Now children, let us discuss about the formation of a cyclone. Now before that, now let us first understand this concept. Now all of you know that water requires heat. Okay, when it changes from the liquid to the vapor state, naturally water, there is heat required over there. Now the water changes back when vapor condenses into liquid. Correct? Does the water give back heat when the vapor condenses into liquid? Now from the vapor form, when you get it into the liquid form, is heat released? Okay. Now all of you know that before cloud formation, water takes up heat from the atmosphere to change it into vapor. Now when water vapor changes back to liquid form as raindrops, there is a lot of heat released to the atmosphere. The heat released to the atmosphere warms the air around. Are you understanding? The air tends to rise and it causes a drop in the pressure. Are you following? There is a drop in the pressure over here. So I will repeat what happens when the water vapor in the clouds cools down, it releases heat. This heat warms the air around the clouds. This warm air rises up and creates a low pressure. The low pressure is quickly filled by cooler air from the surroundings. So this
continues to happen. So as this goes on happening, it is a chain of events which ends with the formation of a very low pressure area with very high speed winds revolving around it. So in this weather condition, we call this a cyclone. And what are the factors which help in the development of the cyclone? They are wind direction, wind speed, humidity and temperature. So all these factors contribute to the development of a cyclone. So what is it? It is nothing but fast moving air towards the center with heavy rain is called cyclone.
Now, cyclones are known by different names. Now, you just look at the map on the slide. Look at the picture of the map on the slide. Now, you can see those colored areas which are light brown in color or light orange in color. Now, these are the areas where storms are storms are formed, or these cyclones, and these cyclones have different names. Now it's called the hurricanes near the American continent, that is near South America and North America. Can you see that region there? So in those regions, the cyclone is known in a different name called hurricanes. Then you come this side, you come near India, then you come down in the Indian Ocean there, they are called cyclones. And if you go to the regions near Japan, Philippines, there these are called typhoons. So it's just cyclones where they have different names. Now the destruction caused by cyclones. Now you know that it is again a storm where there is a lot of disturbance in the atmosphere, and you know the cyclone is always associated with heavy rain and winds which are blowing at very high speed, right? So here what happens, strong winds push water towards the shore, the first one. Second one, the water waves which are produced by the wind are very powerful, so it can cause lot of destruction. So what happens? The sea water enters the low-lying areas, causing severe loss of life and property. And when there is continuous heavy rainfall, what happens? The flood situation can be worsened. So cyclones can cause a lot of destruction, but due to the presence of the satellites now, and since we have the weather forecast which is done earlier, we can predict these cyclones, and we can see that there is not much loss of property and life. Now let us talk about tornadoes. Now this is again another kind of storm. Okay. Now the a tornado is a violently rotating column of air that is in contact with both the surface of the earth and the cloud. And this reaches great heights. It looks like a funnel. Okay. And here the speed of these violent tornadoes may come up to 300 kilometers. So here this tornadoes also cause a lot of destruction because the speed of the wind that is blowing is very great. So they are violent. The speed of the wind is very violent here. So tornadoes also cause lot of destruction, just like your cyclones. Now look at the picture on the slide, children. It is the picture of an anemometer. An anemometer is an instrument which is used to measure the speed of the wind. And this is a common weather station instrument. Usually you'll find it. And this term is derived from the Greek word animos, meaning wind. Now let us discuss about the precautions that has to be taken if a person is staying in a cyclone hit area. Now what are the precautions that we have to follow? First thing is, don't go outside until officially it is advised that it is safe for you to go out. Then listen to the local official warnings and the advice, and you have to take their advice. Third, if you have to evacuate or you have to do something like that, do it as early as possible, and you don't return back to the place until and unless it is advised to do so. Then, do not drink water that is contaminated. So during the cyclone, if there is flooding and if there is water which is stagnant in many places, you have to take care when you drink water. Then do not touch wet switches and fallen power lines. Now you will have fallen power lines because of the speed of the wind during the cyclone. So you need to be very careful so that you don't touch wet switches and fallen power lines. And then last, you need to cooperate and help your neighbors and friends to be safe. With the advance in technology, we are able to forecast cyclones. So the world today is very different, and thanks to satellites and radars. Now there is cyclone alert and cyclone warnings which are issued, which helps people to evacuate earlier to prevent loss of property and loss of lives. Now, what is a cyclone alert? A cyclone alert is issued at least 48 hours in advance of the expected commencement of adverse weather. And what is a cyclone warning? This is issued at least 24 hours in advance of the expected commencement of adverse weather over the coastal areas. And these messages are broadcasted every hour or half an hour when a cyclone is nearer the coast. So this way life is protected.
Now let's just summarize the important points of the lesson that I have done. High speed winds and air pressure difference can cause cyclones. Satellites and radars help to monitor cyclones in advance. And it is better to plan in advance and be ready with defense against any approaching cyclone. A cyclone alert is issued 48 hours in advance of any expected storm, and a cyclone warning is issued 24 hours in advance of any expected storm.
Now try to answer these questions, children. The first main, fill in the blanks. The instrument used to measure the speed of wind is dash. Near the Earth's surface, dash air rises up, whereas dash air comes down. State true or false. In winter, winds blow from the lands to the ocean. The coastline of India is not vulnerable to cyclones. Answer the following. Would you like to buy a house having windows but no ventilators? Explain your answer.